Welcome back to Breaking Black Podcast. You are here with your beautiful host, Tina G. Help me in welcoming Al. He is a father, a husband, a grandfather, and an entrepreneur. And we have been discussing sort of what the future plans are in terms of him creating generational wealth and kind of just the all-encompassing conversation of what it really means to be a man. Now, in this case, some of the things that have been trending have been the disparities between men and women, talking about what it really means to be a real man. How would you define a real man?
Well, that's a tricky question a little bit. It's kind of like a loaded question a little bit. I believe that, a man is a man, first and foremost. You know what I'm saying? If you're a man, you should be a man, and you're a man. I think that's, just the simplest part of that is just being a man. It's being who you are. I would put it as, if we're going to say what it is to be a real man, I'm just going to say accountability is the biggest thing, right? It's the first thing. A real man is accountable to his family, himself, his friends. He's someone that you can look up to. He's someone that you can call on. He's someone that's consistently there. That's a big word right there. He's consistently there. And I think that a real man, his wallet does not control if he's a real man or not. I think his actions control if he's a real man or not. It's a difference, and I think a lot of in today's society, I'm not going to say just women, but people in general get it confused when you're looking at the dollar sign. Men bring more to the table than just money too. If we're leading in the proper way, that's bringing value to your home. It's protecting your home. It's upgrading your home. It's upgrading your lifestyle. It's a lot of different things that consist of being a righteous man. That's one of the words right there, righteous. You have to be, you know what I'm saying? Your morals have to be in place. Your morals, your character, those things can't be in question. Those things are, because when you have high morals and a good character and a good name, that goes so far in the world. Just a good name. Just thinking of my grandfather and how I was raised, his name resonated through the city. You knew people that if they knew who your people was, they knew that you was good people because of that man. So your name means a lot. You know what I'm saying? Your word as a man, your word is your bond. Because nowadays people don't have nothing that they can hold on to or can bank on. So as a man, your word should be people can bank on you. My daughters know if I tell them that the bridge fell down and I need to get over there, I'm gonna come see them that day. Then I'm gonna get on the boat and row my boat all the way to get them and see them that day. So they have to understand that your word means your word is law. Your word is bond.
Yeah, I love that you said that. Now, I scoured the internet trying to find different videos, different takes on what it means to be a real man. And when I tell you, I couldn't even decide on anything. I heard everything from, what a man provides to, whether or not a man has multiple women or not, whether he's being honest, whether he has a good reputation. Many of the things that you mentioned were things that were broached, but it was interesting because everyone had kind of like a different take on what they thought a real man should be. This brings me to this particular video because after looking, at different perspectives, I settled in on this one clip and I want to play it. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this particular perspective on what it means to be a real man.
A real man has standards for himself, has core values for himself, stands for something bigger than himself, not just for himself, but so he can be a better example to his kids, siblings, community, spouse, whoever, older, younger, wiser, less wise. It doesn't matter, man. You're representing a whole generation of men. And so when you start thinking of life like that, you're just a little speck motivating all these other people around you. That's when you start really living, I think.
One thing that I really loved about that particular video, I feel like oftentimes when we have conversations about this particular topic, men related to just individually what they think or what they feel and what's surrounding them. But I like that he threw it back to community and even the influence that you have on other people, because I do feel that strong characteristics of what it means to be a real man is in fact taking on the responsibility, accountability, and leadership abilities, and being that sort of prevalent figure for the people around you, and not just only your spouse or your family, but people in your community or other men that may aspire to learn from the wisdom that a man has. So I like that he put it in perspective in terms of looking at it kind of like an all-encompassing characteristic, something that everyone around you would be able to see. I know that there's a lot of that has been challenged in terms of how men provide, how much money they make, because a lot of women look at traditional aspects of them sort of being, maybe the person at home with the children and being domesticated, and men sort of having this breadwinner, provider mentality. What are your thoughts in terms of those particular gender roles or roles and responsibilities?
Just to touch bases on what you were saying, that guy said, he said community. I agree with that 100%. But just like I said, a man, if he's accountable, leading in all these things in the home, he's making the home better. A man makes everything better. Okay, I'm just going to tell you that straight up. Now, we can say women do too, but listen to what I'm saying. When I say he makes everything better, if he comes into a situation, let's just say a woman's home, and he's coming, and there's about to share her space. Okay, a man is going to make that space better. He's going to provide for that space to make sure that he might not pick out the decorations in the home and decorate or design these things, but he should be bringing enough value to that home to where he's going to make that home better. He's going to make that home feel more secure, that home feel more safe. And he should be making sure that home is better when he steps a foot in there. You know what I'm saying? If it's something that's out of place in there, need some furniture, get that furniture. You need some food, put some food in there. He should be making these things better, and he should be able to teach anyone in that house something. It doesn't have to be everything, but he should be able to help them and better themselves as well. And speaking of the other part of what you were saying is, I think that men, we have a lot of roles. You just have to be stand up on all of them. As a man, there's no downtime. There's no break. You know what I'm saying? When you have a break, that means everybody's out the house and you got the house to yourself. That's your break. Okay? I know this because this is how I live in a sense. You know what I'm saying? My wife and my daughter, they're out. I get some me time. You know what I'm saying? I do get me time here and there, with the fellas or here and there, just things like nature. But a real man don't have all that time to be doing a whole bunch of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because he's busy handling his business. I don't have time to sit on the game for 4 or 5 hours and play the game. I don't know how many real men who do. And if you do, if you really look deep into yourself, you realize you're wasting time on that. You know what I'm saying? You can be doing something else to improve yourself, your family, or your community. So being accountable, being a leader, being someone that people can look up to, being someone that their children are proud of when you walk into their school, or you come up to one of their shows or something to that nature, and the teachers know you because you're involved in their lives. Those things are a big thing, and that's why I said men bring more to the table. He's participating in his kids' schooling, going to a teacher-parent conference. But he's, providing is to me the thing that you just do. Okay, to me that's okay. That's a man. That's what he does. Some men can provide better than others. It doesn't make him less of a man if he's doing other things in that household to make it better, providing for his kids, taking care of his kids. And that doesn't mean financially. It can be he's watching them during the day for 8 hours or whatever, then going to work. Just those things. It's a lot of things that men do that make things better. And like I said, a woman, you bring a house, a woman will make the house a home. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm trying to say. Women do those same things, but men do the same things too. It's just a different way.
Yeah, I find it to be an interesting dichotomy, because if in certain types of situations, some men can be a liability. I feel. I don't know that I would classify real men as a liability, because I think that what a quote unquote would be a real man is somebody that, like you said, contributes to the environment that they're in. They add to the environment that they're in. They bring value as a man. And that is internally, emotionally, mentally, financially, all of those things. But I do also know that, there are instances where men may fall short in those particular areas. And sometimes if a woman is taking on the boatload of those responsibilities, it can cause her to be in a situation where, having that man in the vicinity can also sometimes be a liability if he is not, in fact, assuming those necessary roles. And I guess the same could be said for women who do not equally contribute, to their relationship. Just kind of talking to maybe people who are in relationships or maybe managing households with a partner. What do you think are some of the misconceptions that men often get in relationships?
You said, well, I want to go back just a tad. You said some men are liabilities. I just wanted to expand. I wanted you to expand on that just a little bit. I wanted to give me an example. I wanted to have an understanding of what you meant by that, because I'm sure they can be, but I just wasn't I just wanted to be clear on that, if you could.
I think that is a great question. So I have seen instances where a woman is very intelligent. She's very emotionally intelligent. She's hardworking. She has goals and, a vision, and is very resolute in making future plans and, setting up her life to provide stability in the household. And there are instances where there are certain men that have to be motivated in order for them to reach their potential. Men that have to be comforted or coached into a space, where they're pushing themselves even beyond their normal comforts. I also have found that, the same way that women are impacted by generational trauma, if a man has either, lacked some type of positivity or connection in the relationship with his mother, or the same with his father, oftentimes they bring those types of traumas in their behaviors in the relationship. And so when I speak to a liability, I'm not just speaking to a financial liability. I'm talking about a man that may not help you to accomplish your goals or dreams, and may also not be driven or motivated to accomplish his own. A man who may react to you in a behavior or in some kind of emotional capacity within the relationship where he is not using emotional intelligence to process your emotion or even counteract with his own emotions. A man who has to be pushed externally because he is not concentrated on his life. You even sometimes have instances where men are so concentrated on what's happening in their partner's lives or in their partner's mission that they sort of fall short in developing and creating their own purpose. And so when we talk about them inflicting generational trauma in a relationship, when we talk about them not motivating themselves or staying goal-driven in a relationship, or not being an adequate partner and being supportive to their partner's goals or aspirations, those are things that I would attribute to a liability.
Okay, understood. You said a lot of good things. First, those men who are the last part you said, that all of that last part that you said, run from those men. Okay, run from those men, because those are not the men that's mentally stable. Those men, their mother took care of them for most of their lives, and they didn't know how to grow up to be men. They started late in life. So you're having all the issues because they started late in life, and they're still haven't gotten to where they need to be. Motivation is an internal thing. Motivation comes from within. So in times of your life, you should have some type of motivation to want something, to need something, or to want to do something. And if you don't have that, you're sucking, basically he's sucking you dry too, because you're trying to, and if you're trying to build and that person is not on the same mindset, they're as mature as you think they are. It's a maturity thing too. People have to grow up and have to understand. Talking to a friend of mine saying about, we're talking about classmates and stuff. And I said, you see the people who you grew up with who are really in school, trying to focus, doing their thing, and you see them now. You know what I'm saying? The little square people, they're really living their lives now. You know what I'm saying? That was really square. A lot of people that was the talk of the crew and, the most popular people, they struggling to death right now. You know what I'm saying? So you have to understand that some of them people are doing good and they're doing their thing too. You know what I'm saying? They still the same person, just better. Now they gotten older. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, a lot of times, I think a lot of people get in relationships, and especially in the beginning, everything is so cozy and cushiony and gushy and all of that stuff, and it works, but you tend to lose focus of the little things that people are doing, that you see the signs that they're not there and they're not right and they're not mature in those areas that you need them to be mature in. And all you're doing is, I say this to women, you're wasting your time on the guy. Not saying all guys, some guys you can bring him to where he want to be. But if he don't have the motivation himself, it's gonna be hard for you to get him where he's supposed to be. Because if he's like, dang, I want to do this and I'm trying and he's struggling and you help him and he start getting it and he's moving and he's doing it, it's working. But if you get him going and he's still, that's him. If you're a grown man, if you're 21 years old, you're the man you're about to be. And you can be better than that man that you are at that moment, but you have to put in the work to keep growing, to keep getting better. So, to answer your question, yes, a guy can be a liability if he's not mature. If he hasn't learned the basics, you know what I'm saying? It's just the basics. You said something too. I'm going to give you a great example. My mother taught me how to treat a woman. Okay? My father didn't tell me how to treat a woman. He told me things not to do to a woman and to avoid and to stay away from in certain areas. But I think he told me a lot of those from his experiences too. You know what I'm saying? So my mother taught me how to treat a woman, open those doors, be a gentleman, all of those things. A lot of things I told my father, I think I was about 30 years old, and said, hey man, I need to talk to you. I'm going through some things I think you was going through at this time in your life. And so when we talked, I felt like a whole weight was off my shoulders. I felt so good. But I told him, I said, I had to learn by trial and error for some of these things. You know what I'm saying? I said, and so if you would have just been there in the way that you're supposed to be to help me, guide me to be the man I'm supposed to be, I'm there now, but I had to go through all of these other obstacles, you know what I'm saying, to get to where I am. And it would have been, half of those obstacles would have been out the way if I had someone to guide me a little bit, to just kind of push me in the right direction, So again, you have to have good people in your life and role models. You know what I'm saying? I had good uncles. I had good, grandfather. I said my father taught me a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? But you have to have, and it's funny, he teaches me so many things that I use on my kids and all those things too. So you find that you think some things is harsh in your life, but then you realize, these are the things that kind of got you to where you are too. So you need a little help in all those areas.
I can definitely agree with that. I mean, just from a woman's perspective, I feel like a lot of what I've learned about how men, should treat women or how we should expect to be treated has come from, the male figures in my life. The chivalrousness that men show, just the attentiveness that men show. A lot of that are things that I recall from, the significant men in my life, my father, my grandfather, my uncles, cousins. I think for me, when I spoke about what I spoke about earlier in terms of, men sometimes being liabilities, I don't know that I can relate tremendously from personal experience, but I've definitely had instances, I'm a very driven person and I'm a very self-motivated person and I have a lot of confidence. And so what I have found in a lot of the men around me is I wouldn't necessarily say that they've become my liability, but I've definitely seen where they're not my biggest champions, if that makes sense. So it's almost like while they don't hinder anything that might be happening in my life, I have definitely seen instances in the past where I wouldn't say that they would be considered to be my biggest supporters. And so a lot of times, like, I'm very good about kind of like weeding, people out. Like, some people are there for a reason and some people are there for a season. And if you come into my life and you are meant to be there for a season, I guarantee you will be out before the season is over. But I have definitely experienced, having to constantly remind men that, like, while I'm on this journey, you are on your journey. And yes, there's a unity when we unite, but like, I never want to be with somebody or have somebody, in a partnership with me if they cannot fully support not only where I am, but where I envision myself going. And so a lot of times I wouldn't say that it falls in the space of liability, but I would definitely say that I've had instances where I feel like I don't have the amount of support that I would like, or the amount of encouragement that I would like. And I don't want to call that jealousy or envy, but I feel like you should never be in competition with your partner. Like, you're a team. So everything that you do should be about working together. So, I'd love for you to elaborate on that, not only just as a man, but also because, you are a husband, you are a father. Like, have you ever seen instances where, maybe a team isn't working together the way that they should? One partner's not supporting the other, or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you've been in experiences where you've seen the difference of what it feels like to have a partnership where you're equally supported. But I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Oh, that was a good one. I think I know your problem when you say about the men and the support. It's going to be hard to find someone your age that's going to be equally to you, because of your drive, your motivation, and your hustle in what you're doing. It's going to be hard. You're going to have to find someone similar in doing something similar, or at least have their own thing going. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times, if you're dating a guy and he doesn't have his own thing going, it's hard for him to support you. And he see you doing good, or he's seeing you growing a little bit, he's feeling a little less of himself because of you, and he doesn't understand that. But the way you get out of that, an older man should be able to help you with that, because he should be. I'm just being honest. The reason why I say that, I'm in a stage of my life right now that I've been, I don't know how to say this. I'm trying to be humble. I've been like the guy. You know what I'm saying? I've been at spotlights and all that. I don't need that anymore. You know what I'm saying? I want to be the background guy. Okay, I want to be the guy behind the scenes. I'm in a place where I don't need all of that extra stuff. You know what I'm saying? So when the guy doesn't need all of that extra stuff and he can just sit back and relax and just like, you know what, you do you, babe, you do it well. I'm going to just support you in any way you need me to do. You need me to be behind the camera, I got you. You know what I'm saying? So it's just going to be those things that, a guy who's more mature, he's going to be like, here, I got it. He ain't worried about that. You know what I'm saying? Because he wants you to blow up. He wants you to do those things. When you understand that you're going to be living a better life too with your guy. You know what I'm saying? If all these things, transpire. So support that.
Yeah, I love that you said that. I can appreciate that a lot. Older men out there, you heard it. I mean, I love me a silver fox. I love the older men out there, but they just do not hit on me. I don't know what it is, but I've been told that before, that the answer to that issue is, possibly looking at dealing with a more, an older man, wiser man. And that's something that I would definitely be open to. For whatever reason, they just are not attracted to me. I don't know what it is. So, but that's an interesting perspective. I mean, right now I'm just like focused and concentrated on, building myself and, and accomplishing my goals and my dreams. But I would definitely love to have, the type of man that I would consider to be that complement to support that. And I do believe in male leadership. So I welcome the idea of that. I just haven't had the opportunity to experience that.
And that's one thing too. Women don't get enough support in the areas that they need support, especially if it's positive and it's in a good way. You have to support those things, and especially as a man, because all it's going to do is bring your relationship closer. That's one thing I do know. when you support your spouse and you just do it, willingly and just, wholeheartedly, it all works out and it makes them feel better, and it's going to turn around and make you feel better because you make them feel better. So, that was good.
Drop us a comment. Let us know what you thought about this episode. What's your definition of a real man? What are some of the attributes and qualities that you would consider to be quote unquote a real man? Make sure that you stay tuned to Breaking Black Podcast. We have more coming up for you on our show. Again, we are available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and Patreon. And please make sure that you subscribe to us on all social media. We will see you soon. Stay tuned.